Hi, this is Alex from devstories.eu. Prompt Flow, the Complete Guide, Episode 6 of 14. You build a carefully tuned prompt template for production, but when you want to test it against a cheaper model or adjust the temperature for a specific edge case, you find yourself manually editing the source file. A static template creates friction when your environment or logic needs to shift on the fly. That friction is exactly what dynamic Prompty execution is designed to eliminate. A Prompty asset typically defines model settings like the deployment name, API connection, and parameters within its header block. However, hard-coding these values restricts how you use the file across different environments. Dynamic execution allows you to treat the Prompty file as a flexible base layer, overwriting its configurations directly in Python or via the command line at runtime. To run a Prompty file in Python, you use the load Prompty function from the prompt flow core library. You pass the file path to this function and it returns a callable object in memory. To execute it, you just call that object, passing your prompt variables as standard keyword arguments. The library handles the compilation and the API call, returning the final text output. This is the exact point where dynamic execution proves its worth. You can intercept the execution to override the model settings without touching the underlying file. Suppose you have a Prompty configured for a standard Azure AOPI deployment, but for a specific batch job, you need to point it to a different Azure endpoint and bump up the temperature to get more varied responses. Instead of duplicating the file, you define a dictionary in your Python code containing your new settings. You add your alternate endpoint and your new temperature value to this dictionary. Then, when you call your loaded Prompty object, you pass this dictionary to the model keyword argument alongside your standard prompt inputs. The prompt flow runtime merges your dictionary with the base file configuration. Your dynamic overrides take precedence. The prompt executes with the new settings, and the original file remains completely unchanged. This allows you to swap API keys, change the max tokens, or redirect the model target programmatically based on your application state. Sometimes you do not want to write a Python script just to see if a prompt yields a good result. For rapid validation, you can test a Prompty file directly from your terminal. You use the pfflow test command, providing the path to your file using the source flag. You can append the inputs flag to pass your variables straight into the command as key value pairs. The command line interface executes the Prompty and prints the model response directly to standard output. This gives you an immediate feedback loop during development without writing wrapper code. The real value of a Prompty asset is not in locking down configurations, but in isolating the prompt text from the execution environment. By injecting model overrides dynamically at runtime, a single file can seamlessly serve your local testing sandbox, your automated pipelines, and your production endpoints. That is all for this one. Thanks for listening and keep building.